Hi, Patricia here. Just a quick intro. We're continuing our conversation on the IT PMO hierarchy. And today we're zooming in on a key player, the Program Management Review Committee, or MRC. This is where the program leads engage most closely with IT and the business sponsors, not just for oversight, but for influence and support. So, my key question here: does your program MRC simply monitor progress, or are they actively shaping outcomes? Give me a few minutes. I'll walk you through the framework that keeps business value front and center. We'll look at the key questions leaders should be asking at each phase of the IT project. So they're not just reviewing checkpoints, but they're leaning in, helping out, driving value. So let's be honest, this is not necessarily novel. There are lots of frameworks for projects that exist. However, I'm presenting a view here that focuses on the outcomes and the value and what things we are doing across each phase in support of a measurable business value where stakeholders are aligned. Again, this framework isn't just for IT. Most significant, IT initiatives are designed to enable, the business transformation or advance some strategic imperative. So the business and IT partner together in these program MRCs. The framework is broken down into stages. It's recommended to think about a program in terms of stages for maturity and progression, where MRCs intentionally leverage stage gates, again represented by these check boxes here, to pause for purpose, confirm the program team is in fact focused on delivering the outcome needed, not just output. It's very easy just to crank stuff out. So too often organizations get excited about some idea, they charge forward, they're forgetting about the key things that they should be doing along the way for actual adoption, or how a solution can actually be sustained in the long run. Sometimes even orgs, they lose sight of the outcome that they intended, and suddenly the program's going on for years and there's no end in sight. We have the power to avoid that. So allow me to do a walk from left to right. As I walk through each stage, you will see some key questions at the bottom that are important for leaders, both business and IT, to be confident in before moving a program to the next stage. Starting with the stage for opportunity identification, this is really where we focus on defining the business case. The biggest things that we should know here are we clear on having confidence in the voice of the customer? Can we be clear on who wants it? In other words, do we have a business leader that's the primary sponsor, the one that's going to push for the investment, the one that essentially has their name on it? Are we clear on the action? What do they want? Are we clear on when they need it by? We're not talking about it yet, but prioritization is important. So timing is key. Is it crucial to the company to do something immediately, or perhaps in the next year, or is it in the next few years? If we're really being honest with ourselves, we need to prioritize the right things so we get a sense of urgency and timing on the roadmap. And that's just really important. Are they clear on the business value? What are they aiming to achieve, whether it's something for a strategic impact, efficiency, revenue growth, risk, compliance, stakeholder experience? Maybe it's just insights and decision support. And do we have a measurable outcome? We should be working to get alignment on the measure, a baseline, a target that can be clear on helping us know if we have achieved such value. In this phase, let me acknowledge sometimes the exact measurable part, needs to be further vetted out in future learning phases. But the business should be clear and know that direction. It's something that needs to be fleshed out before we invest too far. So now let's click again to the right with the solution shaping phase. This is where the collaborative design, that validation of the planning really takes place. In the solution shaping phase, IT and the business, they come together, co-design, validate that path forward. This is where we kind of have a concept and we shift into clarity. We're trying to map out those as is to be processes better, not just from a systems lens, but really what's our business outcome perspective. That voice of customer, we really are getting to know what the real true business needs are. We're no longer making assumptions here. The IT, they're leading the initial architecture, alignment, checking the feasibility, the scalability, what's the fit for the solution we need ahead. And together they're planning out the proof of concepts that are required, for us to truly commit. So in short, again, the solution shaping, it's really about kind of co-creating, validating the what. It's a really kind of a strong learning phase for both IT and the BU. See the value focused questions below that the MRC leaders may want to ask. Is the proposed solution aligned with the business outcomes for the stakeholder? Are the business processes defined enough to validate the change? So are we clear on the future state and the measurable improvements? Is the preliminary architecture feasible and directionally sound, ensuring that we actually have enterprise alignment? Are we ready to test and validate through proof of concepts, making sure that IT and the BU are in fact aligned on how to test outcomes and test viability? All right, then we move into the viability assessment phase where we're shifting from shaping to selecting. The proof of concepts, they're being completed and evaluated. We know what works, what doesn't, we know why. We're confirming the as is and to be process and kind of locking in whatever that operational model is that supports the adoption. The business is really kind of honing in on that adoption plan, the readiness, the change impact, the rollout strategy, while IT finalizes those architecture to really meet those needs. And together, we may even select and commit to the right suppliers, ensuring we're aligned on the capability, the cost of the delivery. So, in short, viability assessment, again, it's really about aligning on the how and committing to the who. This phase is not just a learning phase, but it's really a affirming phase. And the value focused questions now the MRC leaders should be confident in are, hey, is the solution validated and feasible? Confirming architecture and the proof of concept. Are processes and adoption plans ready? Are delivery partners and resources committed? So, as a common challenge, is when folks try to charge forward on a design and a business process change without something like a supplier or third-party software being selected. Guess what? The common result is rework. We can avoid that. Last key question is there confidence to proceed? Overall, is everyone aligned to target stakeholders, both IT and BU, are bought into the resources they need to commit to make this successful in the next phase? So now we're in a phase, where things really come to life. Delivery and development, moving into launch and operate. And while, they're often shown as separate steps in practice, they're tightly connected. It's a technically very iterative here. We generally build a solution iteratively with regular demos and feedbacks to make sure it's aligned to real outcomes, while IT develops the business, helps shape and refine. Change management should be kicking off early. Training, communications, readiness should be built in. It's not just an afterthought. Obviously cutover onboarding take place where we should reflect, adjust, and move into a plan of sustainment with lessons learned. So there are many questions to be asked, but focusing kind of here on the value focused ones, are we delivering solutions that align to the business outcomes? We ought to know that the business is present and affirming the value. Is the business ready to adopt and sustain the change? Again, change management better not be an afterthought. Are we tracking progress towards the measurable value? And as we progress further, are we transitioning effectively towards sustainment? All right, so this is where we're shifting now from final delivery to really tracking impact. Here we track whether the solution is delivering the value we set to achieve, whether it be cost savings, efficiency, experience, whatever the original targets were. And we check, are people using it? Is it making a difference? This phase is intended to close the loop. So, as a leader, especially if you're the sponsor of the program, how confident are you that the people can answer this question? Has business value been realized and measured against the original targets? So, with that, let me conclude a statement on the framework overall. These phases, they're intended to support a program's life, shaped from the shaping of the solution in the beginning to, really, realizing the impact later on. It's not meant to be a bunch of checkpoints. It's more about a partnership, IT and the business co-owning the steps for delivering meaningful, measurable outcomes. So I shared some key questions to help leaders, stay focused on the value, the feasibility, the readiness, without getting lost into the weeds. And I hope you found them useful. So before we close, I want to circle back on the slide because the Program MRC's role goes beyond just those stage gate reviews. Yes, they help guide decisions at key value checkpoints, but they also play a critical role in enabling success, again, securing funding, staffing, tools, removing roadblocks, escalating issues, reinforcing the ITBU collaboration. And just as important, MRCs, they uphold that delivery discipline, again, beyond validating direction. They typically own the decision to continue, pivot, stop, enforce those governance standards, and monitor the scope, schedule, budget risk. Ultimately, they ensure transparency and the portfolio visibility. So we're not just moving forward, but we're moving forward with purpose. So let's be honest. Will your program MRC simply show up for checkpoints or step up as the catalyst for value? This is the challenge to every leader here in the room. Ask the right questions, track the right outcomes, deliver the value promised. Business value doesn't happen by accident. It's well thought out in partnership with leaders from the IT side as well as the BU side, and they truly need to pay attention. So see you next time as we dig into other elements of the PMO hierarchy. Thank you.